this morning? Did you
Yes,
receive it?
I just got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So it's really great. And
Okay. Will you use it in the future?
my plan is to use it as a copy for
Ah,
making the Korean numbers.
okay. If you continue to manage the spreadsheet, I always ask Imada-san to collect mailing list subscriber.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
I cannot count mailing list subscriber because I don't have a administration status.
I see. Of course. And I'm very happy to work with Imada-san on this as well. Um,
Mm.
yeah, this is a very useful document. So I see we have some people joined. We have
Yeah,
Carlos.
it's Endo from Toyota speaking.
Hi, Endo-san. And we have Nick
Yeah,
in
hello.
Washington. So, this
Great.
call will be relatively quick because we have a big OpenChain workshop tomorrow where we will do our
Okay.
work. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
Uh, yes.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to go through our news quickly. So, we started an automotive work group in July. It was very impressive. We began with 95 participants on the mailing list. This is a work group that Endo-san from Toyota helped start. And the purpose is to talk with the automotive industry about how open source software and supply chain management can work. Part of this is OpenChain for open source compliance, and of course, part of it is to do with other aspects of open source. So, this is an interesting work group. As with all of the OpenChain work groups, this is open to everyone, whether they are a Linux Foundation member or not. And it is run by the people interested in it. So it's a volunteer work group, just like everything else in OpenChain. We also, as of this August, have a tooling work group. Again, it's the same story. Companies were interested in tooling. In Germany, Siemens and Bosch. In Japan, Toshiba, Fujitsu, Hitachi, and other companies. And they decided to collaborate to create a reference tool chain. The idea here is not to make people use one solution, but to coordinate between what they already do. They already use open source tooling for open source compliance, and to coordinate to make it into one reference tool that people can download and go. Nice idea. Very simple. Just like the automotive work group, it started quite big. The first group of participants numbered at 77. For those of you who are not in Japan, and we have a few on the call, the Japanese community has doubled in 2019, so it's grown very quickly compared to last year. We've had a lot of very good activity from companies and individuals. Japan actually has 7 sub work groups on topics like education, like tooling, and these subgroups are meeting quite frequently, with the main meetings happening every 2 months. It's a very active community. Korea is also active. We've had 2 meetings in Korea since January. The Korean group has decided to meet once every 3 months. The first meeting, 26 people at LG Electronics. The second, 31 people at Samsung. And the next meeting happens September 5th at SK Telecom. We're looking forward to a great meeting and great collaboration. OpenChain is also building out into China. Starting in September, we'll have meetings in China. September 25th, Huawei will host us, and we'll have other friends like people from Foxconn and Baidu and CIACT come along as well. We're looking forward to getting the work group in China underway. We can learn a lot from the companies in China, and hopefully we can build some great collaborative friendships. Many of you will know that OpenChain has had audited certification available since November 2018. This audited certification is provided by Tshirts, a third party. They helped to do audited certification of Hitachi in November. And then this March, they announced that the certification is available globally. Tshirts is mostly an automotive certifier and industrial certifier, and they decided to make a new standard, a TPS or Toyota Production System standard, which was based on OpenChain. So it's called PPP 15001A, and it means that companies in areas like infrastructure and automotive can easily become OpenChain conformant. Our partner program, Companies Supporting OpenChain, is also growing rapidly. We've doubled in 2019, and we have coverage of most major technological geographies, except France and except Russia. But we're growing quickly, and we expect to cover all the major markets in the coming weeks and months. One thing that's important, and most of us know this, but some of us may not, is that OpenChain is becoming an ISO standard. We're working with the Joint Development Foundation, an organization that is going to be developing Linux Foundation standards, and we expect to become a formal ISO standard in the first half of 2020. This is because we're using a fast track for existing standards. We're not creating a new standard, we're in the second generation of an industry standard already. And I mentioned that Tshirts have standardization based on OpenChain. They've already committed to making sure that their standardization is perfectly matched to our ISO standard. So looking very good. Coming soon, this is quite exciting, we're beginning a series of OpenChain interviews. Our first interview will be Takanishi-san from Tshirts, and she'll be explaining how she got involved in open source and OpenChain. That'll be out later this week. We'll be announcing it at the Open Source Summit North America event. And another thing that's happening just now, in fact, after this call, I'm going to pick up the parcel. The first OpenChain T-shirts have arrived, and they'll be available at various OpenChain events moving forward. And that's basically it. That's our update on what's happening with the OpenChain project right now. We're going to have a very big event tomorrow. We're having a board meeting, a steering committee meeting, and a workshop. So this is something that's adjacent to Open Source Summit North America, and this is also where we'll be making some various announcements. For instance, we're going to be announcing a global accountancy firm as the latest OpenChain partner. We might also be announcing some case studies and so on over the next couple of days. I wanted to check at this point, does anyone have any questions about our news and progress? Okay, if there's no questions, then I have a request. We're having the events in Korea and in China in September. And if you are working with companies in either country, but especially China, I would really appreciate if you could help us reach out and try to include those companies in the meetings. We're going to be holding the meetings in Chinese and in Korean. They will be very welcoming, it will be very informal, but it will be a start of some important relationships. And if you have suppliers or partners in these countries, please do help us spread the word to bring them to the table. When it comes to areas like automotive and consumer electronics, I personally am really interested in working with various companies. In Korea, we're already talking with Samsung and LG and Hyundai. But as an example, it would be really interesting to talk with some of the Korean banks. In China, we're already talking with Baidu and Huawei, but it would be really interesting to talk to some of the automotive companies like BYD or Geely. So if there's anything you can do to help connect us with people, please do. This is a great moment before we become an ISO standard to communicate with people around the world. All right, pausing again. Now, this time I'm going to ask you, do you have any news from your country or area?
About Chinese community,
Hmm,
where and when the meeting in September in China.
great question. The meeting will be hosted by
Yeah.
Huawei in Shenzhen, and it will be hosted on the 25th of September. I will make sure to email all of the details to the list. But basically,
Okay.
afternoon
Yep.
of, yeah, afternoon of 25th September in Shenzhen at Huawei headquarters.
Okay, thanks so much.
You are welcome. I'll email the information to the list again so everyone has it. Carlos, I saw you unmute. Perhaps you want to talk a little bit about the FOSSA activity.
Yeah, one of my colleagues, Taylor, I think she's been working with you on a compliance program document.
That's right.
Or I think she might, yeah. But I think she might have shared something, and I guess I just want to welcome everyone if they have any feedback or comments on that. I think we just shared it to the listserv, correct?
That's right. It just came out on the list. I think yesterday Taylor shared it, and this document basically helps people frame some of the compliance. In fact, you know what? I will share my screen to show it. So bear with me a moment, and I will just grab it and show it. So,
Thank you.
oh, my pleasure. So it seems like you guys are really busy at FOSSA these days.
Yep. We'll also be at OSSNA this week as well.
Oh, awesome. So we'll have a chance to meet probably.
Yep.
I'm just sharing the screen to show this document from Taylor. So do let me know when the share is working. I think it should be working now. Can you guys see the document?
Yep.
Okay, so this document is all about creating an open source compliance program, and the idea is to have some series of checklists on how you create the program itself. So it's basically some of the stuff that's very useful around an open source program office. And I saw Taylor has looked at the OpenChain community, looked at our material, and tried to make a series of checklists that could fit easily into what we're doing and also complements our existing material. So here we have the different phases, like creating policies, rollout of the program, iterate and repeat. And these checklist items are very short and simple, but they cover the ground. And it goes on to talk about recommendations of how you do the various things, like, how do you work on creating the policies? Step 1, step 2, step 3, creating profiles, and all of that. Then it talks about what happens next, education materials, how do you do your rollout of your program, a couple of steps on that as well. And one thing that's really cool is that as Taylor has built out this document, she's left a few items as to do, she's left a few assignments. So this is a living document. It's not a case of giving something and saying, oh look, this is final, this is what we did. Taylor's actually laying a foundation for us to put in more comprehensive checklists than before. Now I'm going to pull up our GitHub, and the purpose of doing this is that in our GitHub, we do have some material already, but the checklists we have are mostly very basic. So I'm going to show you the original checklists. So there's a description of what they're for, but the